welcome to our latest episode of Inclusion Talks, a podcast where we look at all athletes and coaches who look after athletes or participate in sports of all abilities. And it's a great pleasure to have my co-host, Cindy McDougall, with me once again. We'll introduce her in just a second, but we're here, of course, for our great sponsor, KISS Professional Solutions, John McEncrow and the team. You can get them and look after all your business needs, whether you're in Melbourne, whether you're in Sydney, whether you're in Albury, and they look after businesses in Wagga as well for their business that is based in Albury. And their Melbourne office is based in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne at Carrum Down. So get hold of John McEncrow and the team at KISS Professional Solutions. Cindy, good to have you with us. Welcome.
Great to be back, Dan.
Who we got today? We've got another guest who lives in Queensland, beautiful part of the world where it's beautiful one day and sensational the next, unlike Melbourne where it can be cold one day and even colder the next in winter.
Certainly can, Dan. On this week's episode, we are welcoming Belinda Slatter, a heptathlete who is a long-time para-athlete, multiple Australian team representative, advocate for the benefits of sport for people with autism and intellectual disability, and also a really big supporter of the benefits of inclusive coaching. Belinda, as you said before, is regionally based in sunny Queensland and believes that barriers faced by regional athletes deserve to be looked into and addressed, and hopes that by giving a voice to a regional athlete, we will one day get to see all athletes, para or able, regional or city-based, compete on a level playing field. Welcome, Belinda.
Oh, hello.
So, Belinda, can you tell us a little bit about your disability and about what made you want to be an athlete?
So my disability is autism and intellectual impairment, and also recently diagnosed with ADHD, as well as anxiety. But mostly my disability is autism.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about your classification and how that works for you in your sport?
So I am a T20, so that's like for athletes with an intellectual impairment. And then if I didn't have an intellectual impairment, it would be II3, which is autism. And there's II2, which is for intellectual disability and a cognitive, chromosomal condition as well. The only classifications at the moment in athletics is just intellectual impairment and the
syndrome.
Down syndrome. Yeah.
Trisomy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
So you compete in the T20 classification. For our listeners, that is for athletes with an intellectual disability. Did you first become interested in sport?
I was always sporty as a kid. Couldn't keep me not moving. I was always jumping up and down. I'd do all the school sports things, get a few ribbons and, I just loved moving as a kid.
Did you have a favourite sport or was it always athletics?
It was always athletics. I absolutely love athletics. But I did do soccer as a little kid. I think under 8s and under 9s. That was with mainstream, kids. That was funny because didn't always know the rules, but we had a go.
And that's the important part. It's so important to have those opportunities. When you started doing athletics, how old were you and did you have a favourite event? Was there something about it that made you fall in love with it?
So, I did at high school, but didn't really start getting properly into it until I finished high school. So I was like, I'll get a coach, and I started to focus on the 400. Unfortunately, 400 is not my best event, but later on I really enjoyed the 200 metres and the 100 as well. So
much more the sprint space than the endurance.
Yes. Even though sometimes I really do like the 400, I just didn't always have it in me.
So you said that you started after high school. What did that look like for you? Was there a particular pathway? Was there a particular organisation?
So I started with a coach that, just a local coach, and, started started with her. I don't think she knew what to do with me. She didn't even the way she coached me was just like, oh, do this, do that. But she never watched me move in the way that a normal coach would do. So I actually had a few injuries while with her as a coach. So, and it got to a point where she did discriminate against me as an athlete. She kicked me out of the squad because I had a meltdown one day.
So she wasn't inclusive.
No. I had a meltdown. I posted it on social media and she took it the wrong way. And instead of supporting me through my mental health, she just went completely the opposite way. She blamed me. Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean she took it the wrong way, Belinda? What, she didn't understand?
She didn't understand what she didn't even try and understand why I would have a mental, why I would have a meltdown. Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Really devastated. The thing that led up to it was there's a media interview. I asked her earlier in the year, hey, could I do a media interview for the news? Because we're regional based. And she said, no, flat out, no, you're not allowed on the news. And so
Why?
it was a few months later. She just didn't want me on the news for some reason. I think it was her ego or something. And then a few months later, some able-bodied athletes in her squad got on the news. So of course, feeling that frustration, I had a meltdown about it. And she just wasn't the best coach.
How did that feel for you in regards to your sport? Did that make you want to give up? Did that make you want to find a better coach?
It literally did. I really did want to give up on athletics at the time. The worst thing was she actually spread rumors about me to other coaches and said, she swears in front of children. I would never swear in front of kids, but the other coach took it as a grain of salt, and so he ignored her, and I was with him for 4 years. So, yeah.
It sounds like he was a lot more understanding. And
yes, yeah. But
is she still coaching now, Belinda? Is she coaching at?
No, she didn't. She quit coaching after. Yes, it's funny because some of my squad mates were in her squad, and then quit. She actually decided one day she's not doing athletics just before nationals.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that would have been horrendous for those members of her squad.
Yes. So they ended up getting another squad, and
your current coach obviously is a lot more understanding of your disability.
Yeah, so I've had 2 coaches so far. I still have a good relationship with the coach that I was with for 4 years. And then unfortunately with COVID, he decided to stop athletics, and then I went to another coach, which I've been in that squad for 4 years as well. So, yeah.
Are those squads able-bodied or para or mixed?
Able-bodied. But I think it's all inclusive. My coach would say yes, they'll take them on, or no, if there's enough. It depends on who they are.
Yep, and that works really well for you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before that you didn't do a lot of school-based stuff. What was your first experience of competition, and what was it like for you?
in Toowoomba, they have a Darling Downs School Sports day, and it was called AWD Athletics Day, and you go to the Glennie track, which is a big athletics track which is one of the athletics tracks in Toowoomba, but we'd go and compete on there. You do a 100, a 200, long jump. You try all these different sports. It was a come and try day, and then if you were lucky enough, you could be selected to go to the next stage, which was state championships. And I made a team when I was at high school, so yeah.
How did it feel to be included like that?
Oh, it was really good because we had multiple, I don't know how many schools would show up to those carnivals, and the special school would show up, the kids that might be in mainstream but
Have disabilities.
But have disabilities would show up, and people from towns that you never even heard of. It was a really good day.
So you mentioned it was AWD, so it was for athletes with a disability. So AWD is that. How did it feel to be included with other people that understood things and processed things similar to how you did?
It was really good. It was really good because not at state championships, they actually mix you up in classifications. At regionals, they don't. They get you into the T20s, the physical impairments and autism or other disabilities. They section them off. So I felt that was really good. But then, of course, when you go to states, completely different. Yeah.
Did you cope with that? Because that's incredibly progressive for them to have had them separated. There's not very many places that do that.
I know.
How did it feel to then go to a state championship and have it all back to that, well, I guess you call it stock standard disability?
I think I was year 8, and I went to states. I think I got second. And, of course, with my intellectual disability, I didn't understand that you have to that you won't get a medal automatically. They did try and explain it, but, it was very hard.
It is so different for our audience and our listeners. You may cross the line first. It doesn't mean that you place first. And in a lot of places, there is still quite a barrier between para-AWD and able-bodied in a lot of places. If you are able-bodied, you will get a medal. If you have a disability and are competing disability, you may not. So it can be quite confronting, especially for younger athletes, I think, to understand that, here we are, we're at this competition, we've just come first, but hey, we're not getting the medal.
Yeah.
When are we going to see the day, Belinda, do you think, where there will automatically be medals given just for competing for athletes of all abilities? Because this is what it's all about. It's not just about winning. It's about performing at your best, but it's also just about participating, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just the thing is in Australia, there's only a few, say T20s or a few, athletes, especially T21s. There's only a few of those. So, I think it would be hard, but I would love to see a day where everyone got a medal for competing in their classification.
See, I'd love to see the medals on a par with able-bodied. So if you're an event where able-bodied to getting medals, I'd like to see the para-AWDs get medals. I'm probably a little bit different, that I wouldn't like to see everybody get a medal.
No.
That it can be even harder to understand for some athletes.
Definitely.
But I do think it's really important that it's recognised.
Yeah. I think it's very important to if you come first, you should get that first place medal. And I've been to state championships. It's literally one person in my event, and guess what? I get it. And it's sometimes you don't feel it's worth it.
Well, I think if you're new to the sport, as part of the encouragement,
Yeah.
you should be getting a medal. Certainly the first couple of times.
Yeah.
And on that one, Dan, it's quite interesting that for most athletes competing at state level with a disability, they will generally get medals even if there is only one or two in it. But when you actually get to nationals, if there are less than 3 in your group, it becomes a non-medaling event. So you could have won your state championships, paid to go to nationals, paid your event fees. And if somebody, say you've got 3 in your event, somebody pulls out and it suddenly is then 2, it becomes a non-medaling event. So it doesn't matter that there were 3 in it. Suddenly you're no longer getting a medal.
Yeah.
As I keep saying, I reckon Athletics Australia are very set in their ways and still got a long, long way to go. This is our Inclusion Talks podcast for our great sponsor, KISS Professional Solutions, John McEncrow and the team, and you'll find them at Carrum Downs in the outer eastern suburbs of Melbourne. They've also got branches throughout Sydney, New South Wales, Albury, and also they deal with offices in Wagga. So, Belinda, you travel a lot. I mean, you live in Queensland, and for those that don't know, Queensland is a massive, massive state. I mean, is it not true that travelling from Brisbane up to Cairns is further, which obviously is in the far north, is further than travelling from Melbourne to Brisbane?
Yeah. Funny enough, my brother is in the Navy. He was in the Navy for 8 years, and he did his training down in Victoria at Cerberus, and he actually, the training, we were closer to him then than we are now because he actually lives up in Cairns. So it's quite amazing, our country.
It's huge, isn't it?
And there are some incredible competitions, Dan, up north as well. So, you know, in Queensland, there are some incredible opportunities up in Townsville and Cairns. And being regional already makes it hard enough. So Belinda lives quite away from the major capital cities. So any of her events are quite a travel as it is. But then you factor in trying to qualify for higher level events, which a lot of people do. And some of those events are ridiculous distances, and they come at such a cost when you're competing.
Yeah.
But Toowoomba's a reasonable sized town, isn't it? I mean, you've got Toowoomba, you've got Mackay, you've got Rockhampton, all in that area heading up north, don't you?
Yes. I think the thing is like I'm from the Darling Downs, which is like here's a massive big region, and it goes out west, it goes south, it goes north, goes west, and like there are some schools that literally only have a few kids. But
so it limits the opportunities.
It limits the opportunities. Yeah.
What do you think the worst part was living so far away from the capital cities? What do you think it was because there was such limited opportunities? Do you think it was the expense?
So yeah, definitely the expense, and also like the expense, and like my mum was a single mum, so she couldn't, couldn't afford to send me to Brisbane, or I think there was one time, I think I was at primary school and I got selected for a team and couldn't go there because couldn't go to Townsville, and it was just so far away, because it was like, and they didn't have a lot of funding back then.
Do you get any support now?
With the NDIS, yes. I get NDIS funding for like travel, so I go to Brisbane for competitions, and I used to, when I was younger, have a support worker take me to training and back, and then I would go to and then I also use physiotherapy and the dietitian with the NDIS, but it's still not, you don't get a lot of funding at all. Like,
but it definitely helped you be able to achieve your goals by having some form of support there.
Yes, it definitely has. And, I know some athletes that, might have a higher support needs, and unfortunately they didn't go much further than states and nationals because of the cost of travel and not having support.
Yeah. Such barriers.
Yeah.
it's disappointing too, because it is such an important thing and it builds so many opportunities for people with the disability when they can engage in sport. So it's really sad to hear that there are still people, I guess, falling through the cracks and not getting the opportunities that you would hope by now should be just a given and have that chance. You now compete a little differently to how you used to. You said that you used to do 400 and it was a bit too much for you, and you love the 200s and your 100s. You've changed your goals now. Look like you're a heptathlete, I believe.
Yes. So when I was like 18, 19, I was like, I should try for the Paralympics, not realising that there's only 4 events to do in the Paralympics. And so I was like, I'll go to the global game. I'll try the global games. Funnily enough, I didn't know I was selected for the global games for the heptathlon until my mum came to me and she's like, "You're doing a heptathlon." I'm like, "What?" And so my coach quickly got me training and quickly got me training to do all these different events, and it was a very fun, busy time. And that was in 2019.
Did you apply for the heptathlon, or you just nominated?
So I think it was because I was. You didn't need a qualifier.
Well,
yeah. So, and because Belinda had the opportunity to compete in a few different disciplines, so I guess at your state championship, there isn't such a focus on, okay, you can only do long jump unless it's your Paralympic pathway, and then they would expect you to do that. But if you're not restricted by that, you actually can compete in quite a few different events. And I'm guessing you probably got the chance to do a few of those, and that caught the eye of the selectors.
Yes. So when I started doing training for heptathlon, I really loved the hurdles, and I still love doing the hurdles. I actually have a few hurdles in my shed that I made up with some poly pipe, and sometimes still get them out and jump over them. Yeah.
Definitely your favourite?
Yeah.
What's your least favourite?
Least favourite, I'd say javelin. Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's the coordination of throwing a stick. And sometimes, there are some people, teach it differently. And so I'll completely forget. Someone will tell me how to throw it, and then someone else will, and then I'll completely forget how to throw it, which is a part of my intellectual impairment. And it's the same with high jump. I literally forget how to jump. Yeah.
And that can be really scary too, Dan. I know that I've spoken to quite a few athletes, and they can be really good at what they're doing, and as part of their disability, one day they go to do it and their brain does not tell them how to do it anymore. And it is so, you actually can see the fear on some of the faces when they're like, I know I can do this, but their body just doesn't, and their mind doesn't want to let them. So.
Yeah.
So do you try and not panic, Belinda, or is that just not?
I try to breathe.
Due to your disability, you do panic unintentionally, and then how hard is it going back to step one to do it all again?
So if, say, it's the high jump, I would go back to the scissor, because it's just I have to get something on the board, because I'm like one of those athletes that's I can't leave without having some sort of number on the thing. And on the scoring, yep. And so with high jump, I do a scissor. With the I know with the javelin, I've done just a step throw, because I was literally at my third and I just couldn't throw it. I'd forgotten how to. So yeah,
better to get 2 meters than none at all.
Yes, that's indeed.
Does your intellectual disability impact you on a competition day? You said sometimes it can be overwhelming. What happens at a competition? Are there triggers that sometimes trigger you more than other things? How do you handle that sort of situation?
I think it's changed. So for me, I'm generally I'm always talking to the officials and to make sure that there's nothing changing. If something changes, I get very stressed out about it. And I've had a few clashes in my, in athletics. And so sometimes they'll change, say it rains or something, or like there's a storm. They'll change it. They'll cancel. They'll postpone the event. I'm like, what? Why? Like
they used to be great at nationals. I don't know if it ever impacted you, but they used to be great at nationals, Dan. With the paras, they would tell them they were starting on the back long jump pit, and then all of a sudden they put them in the front, right in front of the stands where all the people were screaming for all the able-bodied athletes. And for a lot of athletes, that is just way too overwhelming.
So how do you all cope with that? Or you can't? I mean, as the support workers or coaches, I mean, obviously their role goes to another level, does it not?
They're not allowed on the track?
No. Are the only... Yes. It is sad. A lot of support workers aren't allowed on the track, or coaches. Anyone that could support an athlete, it's really sad. And it's the same with like hearing impairment. Like there are sometimes, so in Queensland we got this awesome system where you have lights. Some places don't, and so you have to get a tap. And sometimes the taps don't work, or people don't tap in time. Yeah, it's rather frustrating for those athletes.
And there's a lot of things that can be done so much better, Dan, like things like that. They know in advance which pits can be used. By preparing them, it doesn't even have to be within half an hour. If they know 4 hours beforehand, let them know. If they do know at call room, that's all well and good, but give them a little bit of extra preparation time and let them walk around the pits, let them get the feel for it beforehand, because I know definitely for Katie, and I've spoken to Belinda before about this, that sometimes crowd noise can be huge.
So I struggle with crowds. I can't stand it. I normally have the noise cancelling headphones on. I got at the moment because I can't stand the crowds. Like at the competition I've been to, I've had to wear the headphones. Yeah.
Well, when you're competing or before you're competing?
Oh, no, just before I'm competing.
Right.
Just before I go into the call room, I take them off.
They're the little adaptations, Dan, that can make such a difference to somebody being able to compete and compete well.
Yeah.
There's sometimes,
and some of the rules.
Sorry.
Some of the rules are ridiculous in the call room. Yeah.
Does sometimes, Belinda, does it get too hard? Do you think, I love the sport, but they're not helping me here achieve what I need to achieve? It might be easier to walk away, or you're that determined to beat them and to beat what obstacles are in place that you'll just go out and do it to the best of your ability.
I'll try. I'll do it the best of my ability. Yeah, I try not to give up. I don't think I've ever been disqualified or anything from any events, so I'm very proud of that. But if ever I need to scratch, I do. If ever I'm at an event and it's like, if I'm in the event, I don't scratch. Yeah.
What do you think the hardest part about doing sport with your disability is?
People's understanding. That, I might look normal and talk a million miles a minute, but I don't always understand what people are saying to me. Yeah. And to take it slow. Take it slow, like treat be compassionate and understanding, because not everyone is the same. Yeah.
I don't know if this was something for you, but I know Dan Katie used to say to me there was nothing she hated more than when she would get to an event and the officials would start talking to them like this.
Oh, I hate that, honest to God. Thankfully, I haven't experienced it, but it is annoying when I see, especially if they're higher sports need and people talk to them like that. It frustrates me because, they can understand.
They're eroding your confidence, aren't they, by saying
yes,
like
yes.
that? This is our podcast, Inclusion Talks. Belinda is our guest today with Cindy McDougall and also Dan Lonigan for KISS Professional Solutions. They look after all your business needs, whether it be computers, whether it be copiers, anything you need for your business. Just get in touch with John McEncrow and the team at KISS Professional Solutions.
You've competed for Australia on a few occasions now and only just missed out on selection for the upcoming Virtus Championships. In Australian domestic events, we've got multiple classifications competing together. We've touched on it before. How does that impact you as a competitor when you're at an event? Virtus, you compete against your own disability, so it's not there. How do you, at an event, you've suddenly got 20 people in it, which numbers are increasing, which is fantastic.
Yes.
But you might have 6 different disabilities in that event.
Yes.
How do you prepare yourself for that, and what does that look like for you?
So I try and I try not to compare myself to other athletes. You know, it is hard not to. Like, I'll look at everyone's this is before nationals. I would go through the timesheet and write down everyone's classification. And if they're T20, I look up their times. And that's not always the best thing you should do. And you're trying to compete against them.
And Dan, I know that that's something that I've heard from a lot of T20s have lived that myself, where I've sat there for 5 or 6 hours with Katie going, this athlete, that, and that is something that I think still happens when you get to the Virtus level, but I think it's a bit easier because you know your best times, you know what you've got to achieve, and you know exactly what you're up against. So I think Virtus competitions are incredible in that they give the athletes a really good chance to compete against people of their own disability. I love parasport and I love that people get opportunities, but I do think that when they get the chance to compete in events where it is just against their own disability, it can be incredibly good for their confidence, and it can also help their understanding of the sport a lot more.
Yeah. You know, when I go to events, you know, there are a lot of, you know, especially with the intellectual impairment, it is a lot of variety. There is, I know one athlete, Tim, he's a hearing impaired, has autism, and absolutely amazing. He does, decathlons as well as heptathlons, and he inspires me.
He's beautiful.
If I had a bad day in the heptathlon, his smile would just get me going, you know, he never has a bad day in athletics. So
Tim is non-verbal, Dan, and for our audience, Tim de Brera is incredible. He, as Belinda said, he can brighten the darkest day at the track. He will come up and he is totally non-verbal, but he'll be pointing to you and he'll be touching something on you and he'll be pointing to another athlete. And he is on a level playing field with, say, my Kate, Belinda, people that have still got an intellectual disability, but are probably a lot more capable in what a normal person, an able-bodied person would say. He is a lot more impaired, so it is a lot harder for him to compete. But, you know, again, at Virtus and things like that, it gives him the chance to be just like everybody else.
Yeah. And, you know, his smile, it's just like, you know, and, you know, just because he's non-verbal, he can still show you how he does these events. He'll show you, he does pole vault, you know, he does shot put, discus, all these different events. He can show you just from hand gestures what events he's doing. So I think that's pretty cool.
Do you guys need to have a reasonably good knowledge or a working knowledge at least of sign language to be able to communicate with Tim, or he knows obviously that he is non-verbal
he's
by what you've just said, Belinda, with the events and the way he uses his hands, like I am now, you can get by communicating that way.
Yeah. He is really good. He has an amazing support worker with him as well. And, you know, he is a support worker, but, like, he doesn't he's not around him 24/7, which is amazing, you know. He's like his little buddy, you know, his support worker. So, you know, he could let Tim go and compete, warm up, whatever, he didn't need to be around to watch, to help him. So, yeah.
I actually think, Dan, I went to the Oceanias in Mackay about 3 years ago, and Tim was there, and it's an able-bodied and para event, so they are mixed in, and they're competing in their own events, of course, but call room, you've still got all able-bodied and para waiting together. And I remember there was quite a well-known sprinter, able-bodied, that had just sprinted and absolutely setting the track alight. And Tim was still waiting in the call room. He was waiting outside of the call room, which generally they're not allowed outside the call room. But sometimes with Tim, he treads his own path, and he was outside of the call room. And this athlete's come running up to him, and he's just lit up absolutely like Christmas. And he's pointing at the man's medal, and he's laughing and he's smiling. And this athlete has taken off his shirt and given it to Tim. And I will never forget Tim's face. And that is what I think is so great about para sport, is that there are opportunities that you might never get to see. And it's by giving the opportunities to people who might not get that opportunity, especially if they live regionally, that, there's connection, and it builds such an incredible connection. And that's a story that able-bodied athlete will always remember as well.
Yeah.
I think that's my favourite part of the competitions. What are your favourite parts of, say, the Virtus competitions? Is it the international stuff? Is it getting to connect with people with the same disabilities?
I think it's getting to know people with, different disability, with intellectual disabilities, and just so I know some of them have a family, have kids, that sort of thing. Have other lives outside of athletics as well, not just being an athlete.
It shows what can be achieved.
Yes, different careers, that sort of thing.
I mentioned about representing Australia. You've travelled overseas to compete. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? Is it hard going away from Australia to compete?
Oh, I didn't like to travel, let's put it that way. Because of my noise. I've got very bad misophonia with noise. But I absolutely loved just seeing a different environment, looking out around the trees, looking at, the different culture and everything to do with France was just amazing. And where we stayed was across the road from the Opera House, and you could see all the trees along. You could see the whole Opera House and the trees off the park. It was quite amazing.
So how do you cope with the noise? Sorry, Cindy. How do you, in regard to the noise, how do you get by with it?
I had noise-cancelling headphones, and these things, they're called loop earbuds, and you put them in your ears, and you put them in your ears, and they block out the noise.
I know a lot of teachers use those in busy classrooms now, Dan, because of the excessive noise in classrooms, and they say they're just absolutely life-changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you go overseas, you obviously have to room with other athletes. How do you cope with that?
I had Talaya Blacksmith, the Paralympian. She was really good. She was very tidy, very organised. Sometimes, forgetting to put things away, but that's normal. But yeah, I really enjoyed rooming with her. When I found out she was going to the Paralympics, I was like, congratulations, you'll do amazing, But yeah, it was quite an honour to be her roommate. But I've had other roommates in the past that were so hygienic that they freaked out when I put all my stuff on the bed and ripped everything out, and she thought we had a break-in. We didn't. Oh no! It was just me, because I'd just done a heptathlon, so I just shoved all my stuff on my bed. Yeah,
that would be something that would that actually affect how you prepare for your competitions?
Sorry, having a roommate.
Yeah, just the differences and having someone else in a room with you, which I'm assuming you wouldn't have at home.
I found it fine. It was just, I think I just hated it's like the environment, like in France, there no air conditioning. You keep the window open, but it was still very hot in the room. So that was really hard sleeping. And at one point, I think it was a few days after I arrived in France, I had a complete emotional breakdown. I was like, I can't go to training. And Neil was like, it's okay, go to bed. So
Just too much.
Yeah.
You travel together as a team from where you live. How does that feel, I guess, to be going overseas with strangers, traveling long distances? How does, with your intellectual disability, how do you work through things like that, and how do you make yourself comfortable with what's going to happen?
Okay. So I tagged along with tagged along with one of the managers of the athletics team, and one of the managers, and like I did not move from their side the whole time because I just didn't want to, and customs in Dubai, they had to check my bag, and I was stuck right next to the person because I didn't. I was just worried about, So I just stuck to the managers during that.
So there's obviously a team that goes.
Sorry, the manager.
Yeah, they were fine with it. No, they were fine with that.
Really supportive.
Yes, because they have experience with intellectual disability. So, she knew me from OA games, and
when you do travel away, do you get to explore the places where you go, and are your family allowed to come with you? Can they be there? Yes,
Mum didn't go because she's working. But we did travel. Mum didn't go to Vichy because it's just too expensive. It would have cost more than what it cost for me to go over there. So I decided. But she did go to both the Brisbane competitions, which I thought was amazing. She was always cheering me on, and very proud mum. She would watch the live stream. Yeah.
Do you think it's important, in light of your intellectual disability, to have coaches and family that I'm guessing when you went overseas, you would have had different coaches.
Yeah.
How was it to have that familiar? You said that it made a difference going through customs with somebody you know.
Yeah. Yes.
Does it make the experience easier when you've got your family and friends and or coaches that you know with you?
I think it helped that Anula knew my coach, and, she sent through a little program to Anula, so that was really good. But I was talking to my mum on the phone, because over in France, couldn't get data on my phone. So I would have to borrow someone else's phone, call mum and say, hey, I'm going well, all of that.
What was your favourite overseas team and why?
The IS Global Games 2023. Amazing. Going overseas to France, just the environment is completely different from Australia. What really did shock me was I'd get up, the sun would go up at 6 a.m. Sun didn't go down until 11.
Wow.
And generally my bedtime's 11. So it was really bizarre going to sleep when it was still
daylight.
Daylight, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're hoping one day to become a coach in your own right. At the moment, you're doing some coaching in schools through the Sport in Schools program.
Yeah.
What do you think makes a good coach?
To be able to adapt to any situation. So, for example, today, actually, I had a student who has physical disability, and he couldn't jump. So I actually gave him a throwing game to do. So I did beanbag toss. And so he had to try and count how many times he got the beanbag in the hoop. So, yes, be able to change in different situations. Like lately we've had a lot of wet weather. So be able to change in case it's wet weather day, yeah.
If you were training someone with an intellectual disability, what do you think the most important thing is in a coach?
I would say repetition is key. So for me, repeating the action. So repeat. So say it's a step, a skip. Keep doing that. Trying different things as well. Repetition is really good. It helped me. It took me years, but I did eventually get the form that they wanted from me. Yeah.
What's your favourite part about coaching those kids that you're teaching at the moment?
The smiles. Today I did hula hoop jumps, frogs and lily pads, and they couldn't jump with 2 legs, so because they were little preppies, couldn't jump with 2 feet, and so I started saying kangaroo hop, and so they started doing kangaroo hops into the hoops, and it worked. So I was pretty proud of that. Yeah,
that is absolutely awesome. You're in a regional area.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to develop coaches to help support regional areas?
So in the Darling Downs, there's not a lot of coaches, and I don't think there's a lot of little athletics teams, which is sad. And you're like, I go out to regions, about an hour away, each way, west, all the different areas, and they literally get they literally don't get anything from sporting schools. Like, they'll request to do, say, swimming. They won't get anyone to come out. And so when I do, say, athletics, I was like, I generally jump at the chance because they don't get that opportunity very often.
What do you think we could do to improve that?
To have more coaches in regional areas, to have more opportunities to have, like, the coaching courses, like, in regional cities or towns. So, like, I know that
funding is an issue.
Funding, unfortunately, is an issue, and, Queen, I think it's, I did my level 2 coaching in Toowoomba, but that was before COVID. So I don't think they've done another coaching course in Toowoomba since then.
That's so disappointing.
Yeah.
Do you think you could coach other sports, Belinda? Considering, as Cindy said, there's a lack of coaches, and you've said too, in outback Queensland or regional Queensland?
I'm pretty sure that a lot of the sports, like football and soccer, all the different, like, physical, so like the team sports, they're pretty much all covered, but it's the individual sports that tend to be left behind. In Toowoomba and Darling Downs, it's pretty much rugby league, AFL, hockey, netball, all those different sports, touch football, yeah. So they're pretty much covered.
What do you think is important for people to understand about coaching and competing for people with a disability?
So I think it's sorry, I don't really understand the question.
No, you're all right.
Yeah.
What do you think it would be good for people to understand about competing with a disability?
I think it's important to show that, having a disability shouldn't stop you from doing what you want to do in life, whether that's learning to drive a car later on or, doing simple things. Yeah.
Why do you think sport is important in helping social and physical development?
I think it's amazing sport. So I've worked with a few special schools, and I've seen from week one where basically they barely know how to do anything, like barely know how to run or jump or throw. By week 5 or 6, I got a little relay, a little course set up for them, and they can jump and throw and run. And I think that's absolutely amazing, Yeah.
I think it's really important, Dan, and it's a bit of a passion of mine. I think the government have had some really great initiatives over the years with like regional sports assemblies down here in Victoria, and the Change Our Game programs and a lot of inclusion programs. And I think it's really important that we keep building those. I think, as Belinda said, it is those 4 or 5 week programs. They don't have to be long. They don't have to be, a year-long program. They don't even have to be 6 months. A 2 to 4 week program, like a 2-hour, 2-week program, or an hour-long 4 or 6 week program, can create so many differences, not just for children, but for adults with a disability. Yeah. And I think we've got a really good opportunity where we're at now with para sport starting to become, I guess, more out there, and you get a bit more visibility, and it's on TV a bit more. Yeah. I think it's probably the best time for us to capitalise on that.
Yes,
and look at how we can build this, especially in regional areas, because they already miss out on so much.
Yes. Well, I've been doing so I'm starting to get involved with my regional sporting school, so sports, dying down school sports, and basically I helped out with the cross country last week. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be one of the managers at the state championships for cross country. Basically mentoring the athletes, showing them ropes of athletics, and trying to include everyone. Yeah, and
I think that's a really great point, Belinda, that you just made there. And Dan, I'm sure you'd agree with me. It's capitalising on the people with the lived experience, so people who have done it, people who understand it, just getting them out there to those little schools or getting them out there to those events, being visible, speaking to people, getting involved. It doesn't cost much to do something like that, if anything, but the benefits that it gives is just incredible.
Yeah, it is. So I'm very excited to be a mentor manager to those younger para athletes in my region.
And Belinda, can you speak from experience about whether you think the governing bodies of the sport, whether it be athletics body in Queensland or Athletics Australia in general, are doing enough for athletes with disabilities or those who are looking to have a career in para sports?
I think I think it's getting there, but I think it's telling the schools basically that there is a para pathway for those athletes. We've just started to introduce the autism versus II3 classification, and that's only just started to be learnt about, but a lot of schools don't know about para pathway.
And I think that's the key too. I think if you can start early enough, and we're the same in our regional area, getting parents to be able to have the understanding that there are pathways for their children, and getting the schools to understand that there are pathways for the children is something that is still really lagging behind. And I think it really is a key, because if you can get kids involved at a young age, I think it really does build up that base for a lifetime of health and sport. And, everybody knows the benefits of sport and the health benefits and the social benefits. The earlier we can start it, I think it is up to those school sports organisations and the your more grassroots, your LAA, state sporting little ass organisations. I think they're really key in building this and making a product for people to see that it's possible.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about sport in Australia, Belinda, what would it be?
Make it for everyone. Make sure, like, I don't know, make like mixed teams, that sort of thing. Like, say, say it's like a community, you know, like I know park run is a thing. Make it open, make it for everyone. Like, I love to see sport be for everyone. Yeah. You know, have the opportunity to get out there and move. Yeah.
More sports offering more opportunities for people with a disability.
Yeah.
It must have been really disappointing to miss out on the Virtus Champs, but I'm sure it's made you more determined to try and work harder to ensure you're on the next team. What are some of your current sporting goals?
So currently I am actually thinking of doing hurdles, like training for hurdles for next year's season, and maybe do some throw or something like that. Because I actually did a PB at state championships, which I was quite shocked about when you just do an event and you don't normally do. So, yeah.
What distance in the hurdles? What would you like to do? Longer ones, shorter?
Oh, so just the short distance.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you aiming for any other big competitions in the future? I know Brisbane's hosting the Olympics and the Paralympics in the years to come.
Maybe Oceania Asia Games. Yeah, I'd like to try for that. See how that goes.
They're a great experience as well.
Yes, they are. Maybe Global Games. I don't know when that is, but next one maybe. I'll see how my future is. You know, see. I take year by year basically at the moment.
Good.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, both in life and sport?
I hope to have I hope to have kids. Maybe, I'm not sure when, but eventually. Move out of home, which I was going to do 5 years ago, but of course with COVID and everything. I don't know. Create a squad for disability athletes. Yes, probably.
Do you have anyone you'd like to thank or promote who have helped you on this journey?
Oh, my mum. My mum.
Love that.
Yes, of course. My coaches, Tom Bradbury and Jackie Gallagher, in the Fit Lab, who've been there for, I've been with them for 8 years, and that's the consistency of me going to training every week. Yeah.
Dan, have you got any final questions you'd like to throw at Belinda while we're here?
I was just going to ask, do you ever get sick of the training, Belinda, or does it just make you more determined? You're learning something new every time.
It makes me more determined. Just makes me more determined to, you know, and also it's the mental health aspect of training. Yeah. If I don't train, I find I get really depressed, and but when I've got some sort of physical activity, I'm happy.
That's good. Excellent.
Definitely mental health is something that I think sport is an incredible benefit of. Dan has been very vocal in his personal mental health struggles over the years, and I know that your running is something that you find incredibly important, don't you, Dan?
I think it's the...
I can't live without my running, Belinda and Cindy. I run every day. For a while, I will say this, for a while it became a bit of a crutch, and it actually was probably causing my mental health because I needed to do it so often and too much, and it put a bit of a chasm in relationships. But I've sort of found 7 or 8 Ks, and when I'm in my mid-50s now, I couldn't run any more than that. But when I do it, I feel so much better, and it is important. Exercise is very, very important.
Yeah. I think that too. It's just gotten me through a lot of dark periods in my time, you know. And, you know, just that feeling of running or jumping or throwing, it's just like a release of happy hormones.
And you feel like you've achieved something too, haven't you? When you
Yes. Yes.
I have to say, Belinda, I'm absolutely thrilled that you are helping teach our future generation and that you are getting out there and promoting the benefits of sport, because I don't think there's enough of it, and I really would love to congratulate you for that, because it is just so important.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Well, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being on today. It has been fantastic. I will throw to you, Dan, to do our close and our sponsors for us, if you could.
It's been fantastic, Cindy. Thank you, Belinda. Always great to have inclusion talks. We'll have more with Cindy McDougall and myself just chipping in every now and again, but sitting back and enjoying the conversations which Cindy is able to organise every single week, and you can get them on our social media platforms. And, of course, we've got to thank our major sponsor, KISS Professional Solutions. John McEncrow and the team look after all your office needs, no matter what they are, whether you're in Sydney, whether you're in Albury, and also they go to businesses in Wagga. Their business is based in Albury to look after the people there, and obviously in Melbourne in the southeastern suburbs of Carrum. So get in touch with KISS Professional Solutions. Thank you, Belinda. All the best.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Cindy.
you.
And we'll have another episode coming up very, very soon.